Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the resumption of the Township Committee meeting of January 15th, 2020. Let's see, our first item on the agenda is the roll call.
We already did that.
No. We were going to do an additional roll call.
Oh, okay, great. Mr. Arvanites?
Here.
Mr. Dorothy?
Here.
Mr. Mancuso?
Here.
Mr. Grizel?
Here.
Mayor Wilson?
Here. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Moving in.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is approval of the minutes from our December 18th, 2019 meeting and from our January 7th, 2020 reorganization meeting. Do I have a motion?
Accepted and circulated, Madam.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Okay. Next up, we have a recognition of a proclamation for John Mills. Could you please come up and join us?
You got it.
Yes. And Debbie? We'd love to have you join us.
You get the award for tolerance.
Well, I'm opening this up. Nice to meet you. Appreciate it, yes. It is my honor tonight to honor John and recognize his service. We so appreciate all that you've done for our community. I know you've worked for Morris Township, municipal attorney for, I believe, 29 years.
Yes.
And you and I have worked together for a couple of years.
Yes, we have.
I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you. As you can tell, he's quite humorous, great storyteller, and you have the most interesting hobbies I've ever seen. John is he's an airplane pilot. He flies airplanes. He drives a motorcycle. And what's really interesting about what he does is that he also repairs them. So he's a mechanic as well and can repair these things. And
I like that of getting any passengers just increased to zero.
I've kidded you that you should read the book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Anyway, we so appreciate your service. We appreciate your time that you've been with us. And I'd like to read our proclamation, if that's okay. Township of Morris, proclamation in recognition and appreciation. Whereas John Mills has rendered to the citizens of the Township of Morris 29 years of faithful service to the members of Township Committee and Morris Township Board of Health. And whereas during his years of service, he faithfully performed the duties and obligations thrust upon him, John has given his utmost to the Township of Morris and all its citizens who have benefited by his experience, faithfulness, knowledge, foresight, and zeal. And whereas the Mayor and Township Committee of the Township of Morris wish to recognize his unselfish contribution to the Township of Morris through his dedication to the law and for giving his time and talent to the Township of Morris. And whereas due recognition should be given to the stature he has attained in his profession by his exemplary public achievements. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and members of the Township Committee, they being the governing body, do hereby recognize the profound professionalism of John Mills upon the quality of his representation of the Township of Morris, further recognizing that his absence will be a distinct loss to the Township, for whom he worked so diligently with effort and efficiency, has won the deep respect of all who were fortunate to work with him. Therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the citizens of the Township of Morris, we extend our appreciation for years of dedicated service to John M. Mills III.
Thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure and honor to serve the township as Special Municipality in the state of New Jersey. I've enjoyed my interactions with each and every member of the governing bodies, past, present, and I'm sure the township will be in good hands going forward. So thank you all for this honor. Greatly treasured and appreciated.
Thank you, Johnny.
Still bigger? Can we take a picture?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Come on. Get the box.
He's great.
Would you like the box? Or we'll recycle it if you like.
If I could just add, John, a couple of words to what the mayor has said before. And we appreciate your service for all of these years. I noticed that there are 4 or 5 words I picked out of the proclamation, which were respect, diligence, unselfishness, and dedication, which exemplifies you. And I've been proud to know you for these 8 years, John, and God bless you and the family.
Thank you. Next up, we have a presentation of a framed map depicting aerial photographs by Fairchild Surveys. And this will be presented by Mr. Leanna Weaver. Is that right?
Yes.
Of the library, the director of the Morris Township Library.
Yes, thank you. One of the things that we did at the library this past year, we have a History and Archive Center in the library. We archive a lot of photographs and newspapers and books and things like that. And so we did an exhibit on land use in Morris County this past fall. And so one of our staff, who actually is a Morris Township resident, said, we really need, we have all of these aerial photographs of Morris Township, if I could stitch those together digitally. I thought, oh my word, what do you get yourself into? But she did. She actually did a wonderful job. We did it as part of the exhibit. As soon as she put it together, we're like, wow, you know who else would really like this? I think the Township Council or the Township Committee and the Morris Township Council would really like it. So we actually made copies of each for both of them as well. We actually put one into our permanent collection because we had so many comments from people who came to see the exhibit. They really, really liked it. These photographs were actually shot by a plane. There was a guy named Fairchild who started a company, and around 1930 he was flying an old World War I plane. And what he did is he developed camera equipment underneath the plane. He would shoot, endless photographs going over. He first did it over Newark, did it over the 5 boroughs of New York City, and then he started doing other cities and towns across the country. I think that was like his claim to fame after a period of time. So he definitely did stretches of Morris County. I think Carolyn's original thought is she was going to do the whole county, and then she realized once she kind of got beyond like Morris Township, it was a little hard to figure out what farm fit into the next farm because they all were very similar. But she did all of Morris County and Morris Township, so we thought it'd be great to have one permanently displayed here in the Township building, which is why we decided to donate. So we also did a label. Carolyn was really nice enough to write up a whole label, not only of the collection it came from, but also from Fairchild Surveys and things like that. So hope it's for everyone to enjoy. If you have any questions, anything, let me know. You can always call the Library History Center too. We're always happy to help, but we thought it'd be great for the township.
It is. How wonderful. I can't wait to study it in more detail.
There'll be a quiz later.
That's right. And this came out of the History and Genealogy Center at the library.
What was very interesting for me is in the upper right-hand corner of that is there's the old racetrack.
Yes.
And when I moved here 20 years ago, I was driven to the airport by an older gentleman who had grown up in Morris Township, and he talked about the old racetrack. I had never, ever seen a picture of it in all my years until now. So thank you for that.
We love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, Chad. Certainly compliments what you did for us previously in the hallway there with the history of Morris Township that all of our residents can come in and see.
That came from the History and Genealogy Center as well?
It did.
for anyone who's not aware of that it's the room that's in the basement of the library, and it is just filled with all kinds of interesting information about our history. So I encourage you to stop by and pay a visit. Thank you. Next up, I'd like to invite Kelly Stevens, who is here from the Morris County Housing Authority.
Thank you. Unfortunately, my presentation won't be as exciting as the library, so just bear with me. I do want to just preface before I start that the presentation and the grant that we are applying for has no impact, no cost, no responsibility to the township. It's a formality that we have to go through the CDBG application. So I did want to say that there's no cost to the township and the taxpayers. But the Morris County Housing Authority, and particularly Morris Muse, which is on the corner of Ketch Road and West Hanover Avenue, over the years our tenants have expressed concern, just safety issues. We're fortunate to live in a community that we don't have a lot of crime or violence. However, they do have some concerns after hours, after the staff leave. Sometimes there's people at the front entrances, sometimes family members are loitering in the hallways. So what we are applying for is to install security cameras at all the entrances. So not just the residential buildings, we also have the Dean Gallo Congregate Living Facility, where we do have a nutrition program on site. So those doors tend to be unlocked. If we have a camera system, we can monitor who's coming in and who's leaving the building to make sure that there's no one there that shouldn't be, because this is where people live, and we want to make sure that they're safe in their homes. We also service the community at our office, so we want to ensure that we do monitor who's coming and going as well in the office. That's
Thank
it.
you so much.
That's it.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any?
I'd like to say that although you said it is a formality as far as applying for the grant, I'm really glad you're here, and I read the application, and I'm glad to know about it, and I'm glad you're doing that, and I'm glad it was a formality. So thank you.
I have to give credit to Tim, because several years ago when I did a presentation, he once told me if they're going to have a resolution, you should really be there. And I've carried that through the years in the different municipalities, and it's good to have a positive working relationship between the housing authority and the town.
It is.
So thank you.
We'll be in touch with you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. Next on our agenda is public comment and inquiry. We would, let me make the little announcement here. Basically, the request is keep your comments to 5 minutes, and if necessary, you can come back after everyone's had a chance.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Kelly. I live on 1 Fairfield Drive, and I'm representing a group of residents from Old Glen Road and neighboring streets, and we're all dressed in black in the front. If you'd like to stand during our review. We've been meeting for about 3 months, and we've obtained 61 signatures, which would represent the majority of residents on Old Glen Road. We're highly concerned about the safety on Old Glen Road, and we just have a few thoughts on that. We'll read the petition for you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Township Committee. My name is Sheetal Bangalore, and I'm a high school student. I'm in 12th grade, and I'm a resident of 65 Old Glen Road. I will be reading the background and summary of the petition. Residents of Old Glen Road and the neighboring streets are concerned for the safety of pedestrians, bicyclists, children, and senior citizens as they walk, ride, and play on or near Old Glen Road, including traveling to and from the Ginty Field Recreational Complex. We are extremely concerned about the unsafe conditions that exist on Old Glen Road and at the intersection of Old Glen Road and Woodland Avenue. We are mindful of a pedestrian fatality that occurred in the past few years on Woodland Avenue near Old Glen Road. Old Glen Road is a significant travel corridor for residents of the following streets: Fairfield Drive, Bradwell Drive, Turtle Road, Beechwood Drive, Catalpa Drive, Arbor Way, Johnson Drive, Dorado Drive, Village Drive, Pitney Place, and Trumbull Lane.
Good evening. My name is P.M.REGULAR, and I'm living in 61 Old Glen Road. I'm sorry for my French accent. I don't have any translator today, so do your best to understand me. What I want to do is just to read you the petition we have prepared. As we say, with 61 of the people who have signed this petition, and after this meeting, we will send to you officially the petition. I have a copy for each of you. We will send by mail only one, an official one. And you will have the copy of everybody who has signed the petition. So I will try to do that before 5 minutes. But we are 3, so we are... That's right. So, action petition for we, the undersigned citizen, respectfully petition the Township Committee to take the following action to improve the safety of pedestrians, bicyclists, children, and senior citizens like us, as we walk, ride, and play on and near Old Glen Road, and as they cross Woodland Avenue near Old Glen Road. First point, marked walkway, bikeway. We had some opportunity already to talk about that with some of you. But what we would like is to establish a safe, well-marked walkway, bikeway for pedestrians and bicyclists on the entire length of Old Glen Road. This should take the form of the visually separated pedestrian lanes that local residents recently designed and advocated. Second point, pedestrian crosswalk across Woodland Avenue. Establish a partial sidewalk similar to the one installed at Bennington Road and Crestview Terrace, including an handicap ramp at the corner of Old Glen Road and Woodland Avenue. Concurrently, install a pedestrian crosswalk across Woodland Avenue, including signage warning motorists to obey state law and yield to pedestrians. Determine the feasibility of installing a traffic signal and walk, don't walk signals at the corner, similar to the traffic signal the Township recently installed at the intersection of Madison Avenue and Punch Bowl. Third point, vigorous speed enforcement. Vigorously enforce a speed limit of 25 miles per hour along the entire length of Old Glen Road. Current limit enforcement efforts appear to be confined to the portion of Old Glen Road nearest Madison Avenue, the upper part. More vigorous speed enforcement is needed over the entire length of Old Glen Road. 4 points. Passive speed detection and display. Regularly employ devices that automatically detect vehicles' speed and display that speed to motorists, as it has been done in the past, but has not been done recently. 5. Vigorous truck weight limit enforcement. Vigorously enforce the 4-ton weight limit for trucks that travel on Old Glen Road in accordance with the Township Ordinance -8871. I'm sure you know it. Point 6, street lighting. Ensure the existing street lighting is working properly and that additional street lighting is installed on Old Glen Road and Feeder Street as needed. Long term, establish a formal study of the growing EV vehicle traffic in the area, which may result in some additional measures to increase safety. So that's the paper we have prepared, signed by 61 people, residents in Old Glen Road, which is by far the wide majority of the houses. So all of us, we are ready to work with all of you and to find solutions. Great. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Anyone else from the Old Glen group want to say anything? I want... Sure.
I don't know who wants to, ma'am, if you want to field questions? Who's going to, if I have a question for the group?
Thank you. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I'm going to wait for him to finish it.
All right. While he's passing it out, I'll say thank you so much for coming in I really appreciate that you've taken your concerns, you have concerns, you've talked with each other, you've recommended some solutions to address the concerns you have, and now you're taking the action of coming in and speaking to your local elected officials. This is how the system is supposed to work, and so I commend you on doing that. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we have actually taken some action already. I'm not sure if you're aware of the grant that we submitted. It was due on December 20th, the Complete Streets technical application that we turned in, and many of the concerns that you raised will be addressed if we get the technical assistance that we're asking for. And if we do, if we get picked, and honestly, I have to say, I don't want to jinx it, but I'm somewhat optimistic that we might. We put in an excellent application, and we are supposed to learn by January 31st. And 8 are chosen, so we'll see what happens. But if we are chosen, what we requested was a walkable communities workshop, which would include about an hour of instruction on Complete Streets, and then the sort of highlight of it is doing a walk audit, which is a technique for assessing, a certain area. In this case, we applied for Old Glen, and the idea is it's very different if you're out in the field walking around, you see the curves, you see the terrain, the trees, where everything is, and you're walking around and everyone has a chance to sort of share ideas and talk about it in the field, and then come back and apply it to the principles of Complete Streets. And we'll see what happens. But we are very aware of the concerns that you have, and if we do get selected for this, we will be doing outreach to the public and inviting people to participate in the walk audit, and you guys would be the experts here. You've probably done that already, and I would encourage you to come and point out all the things that you've already identified from your own experience. So hopefully that will happen. We'll see. But anyway, thank you for all that you've done to bring it to this point, and we will keep in touch. Yes. Yes, sure.
So I don't know who in the group might want to respond to this, but I'm curious, in the discussions of everybody on your street, and one of the possibilities, obviously, that we've been talking about is a sidewalk, but have there been any discussions about changing the streetscape, the viewscape of if trees have to come down and things like that? Has that been part of your discussions?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
Please speak to the microphone. Thank
you. No, absolutely. It's a point that we are considering. Actually, we are totally open to any consideration to improve safety. What we want to do clearly, as you want, is to avoid any accident. And I can tell you, I collect my mail every night. It's a kind of challenge. The speed of the cars, I'm sorry to say that, including the police car drivers, are incredibly high, many times more than 60. So any solution to protect people about any kind of accident will be positive. And we are ready, all of us, and more than the people here, to work with you on that. But yes, why not consider that?
Okay, because it's a beautiful street. I mean, the trees on your street are really wonderful and big. That's just a concern.
I agree, Jeff, but if we have an accident in the street, we lose this reputation.
I just want to make sure everybody has thought about that. Okay,
yes,
very good, thank you.
Part of the walk audit is that various options are considered, and sidewalk has been discussed, but there are a lot of issues with putting a sidewalk in, and I'm not so sure that's at the top of the list of suggestions at this point. There may be other things that will come out of this, the walk audit.
We think that there are some cheap ways.
Yeah.
For the very short term, show the people that we are taking care of them.
Yes, yes.
Without waiting for the long-term committee
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, can I ask that the Township Committee refer this to the Transportation Advisory Committee?
Thank you for mentioning that.
I believe in the ordinance, we stated that the Township Committee would officially refer special projects for review. That's why the Transportation Advisory Committee was formed, so I would ask that we refer the petition we have here for discussion in their meeting.
I'll second that motion.
I'm not sure what the technicality would be required, or we're done. Yeah.
We can just do it.
Yeah.
So we will forward your petition, your concerns to our Transportation Advisory Committee, and that's another place where we would, I would encourage you to come to the meeting. And I don't have the date of our next meeting right here, but it should be at some point in February. Yes.
We have the chance to have already one representative in this committee.
I'm sorry?
We have the next to have already one representative in this committee. We should need to know that.
Ah, yes, Alida. Well, you're welcome to attend as well.
February 12th.
February 12th. Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment? Seeing, oh, yes.
Just a very brief comment. So I'm Jeff Brooks, 49 Spring Valley Road. I'm here with Chad tonight as part of the presentation of, from the library to the township. I just want to say I am one of the representatives of Morris Township on the library board of trustees and the treasurer for longer than I care to say at this point. Thank you very much, Mayor Wilson, for your comments about our history center, because I do think it's a jewel of our community that should be more widely used. And I always like to point out that our history center, which is really special within broader northern New Jersey in terms of library resources, is as a result of the generosity of a Morris Township resident, Caroline Foster. When Caroline passed away in the late 70s, in addition to leaving her farm homestead to Morris County, which is now Foster Fields, as Historical Agriculture Museum, she left about $1 million to the library to fund the History Center, which is now about $4 million, and it is the income from that endowment of Caroline Foster that allows us to fund the History Center. So important to note Caroline Foster, and please, please come use our History Center. It's a wonderful resource. History and Genealogical Center. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll all be there soon. Interesting that Caroline Foster had a input into that. Yes.
Jeff, while you're here, I just want to also congratulate you. So Jeff mentioned that he's our one of our representatives to the joint library. So the library in Morristown is a joint library between Morris Township and Morristown. Jeff is one of the representatives providing oversight for Morris Township. So congratulations on your reappointment, and thank you for a job very well done over the years. And thank you for your commitment to the township and doing this on behalf of our residents. Thank you.
I second that. Anyone else? Motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up, we have an ordinance for introduction dealing with the pool fees. Mr. Carlson?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 01-20, an ordinance amending Chapter 447, Pool Municipal Rules and Regulations, in particular replacing Section 447-5 entitled Membership Fees, A through K. This ordinance revises swim pool membership and program fees.
Okay. Motion to, this is introduce.
Motion to introduce the ordinance on first reading.
Make that motion, Madam Mayor.
Roll call. Mr. Arvanites?
Yes.
Mr. Dorfey?
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso?
Yes.
Mr. Griselle?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes. Okay. The public hearing on this ordinance will be at our next meeting on February 19th. Next up, resolutions. We have resolution 14-20 through 40-20.
Yeah.
Mayor, I request that 34-20 be pulled and voted on separately.
Yes, that's fine.
Can we also separate, Mayor, I'd ask we separate 33-20. I prefer to abstain since it's fire department related.
Okay.
Are there any other resolutions that committee people would like pulled for separate discussion?
I would like, 1620, 1820, 1920, 2120.
Can you slow down, please? I have 1820, what's next?
1620, 1820, 1920, 2120. I have a question on 2320, 2620.
Shall we?
So can I can move all of those except for those so noted by Mr. Arvanites, Mr. Jorphy, and myself? Can we move the rest?
Quite a few of them.
If we're going to go through 40, then I'm going to also note that there are two resolutions being voted on that are not on the agenda that are late starters here. Resolution number 39-20, authorizing settlement of Lafrumento, Anthony and Susan Jane versus Township of Morris. This is block 2808, lot 6, 15 Spencer Drive. That's settlement of a tax appeal. And resolution number 40-20, also settlement of a tax appeal, authorizing settlement of Schmidt, Robert versus Guyda, G-Y-D-A, versus Township of Morris, block 4303, lot 4, that's 17 Old Mendham Road. So, if I may, we're going to need a motion. No, we'll do a motion adopting resolutions 1420, 1520, 1720, 2020, 2220, 2420, 2520, 2720 through 3220, 3520 through 3820, as well as the aforementioned 39 and 40. You got it. Good job.
I'll offer the resolution.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Mr. Arvanites. Mr. Mancuso.
Yes.
Mr. Jorphy.
Yes.
Mr. Gazelle.
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Going in order with the remaining resolutions, resolution 16-20, appointing Noel Shablick, Esquire, as hearing officer.
We might be able to take the questions together. I just have,
Sure.
I have a question on number 2320. Seems like all or most of the other award contracts to law firms state who actually will be representing us from that law firm. Do we know who will be representing us from?
Yes, sir, that is our tax counsel. John Lloyd has been our tax counsel for eons.
John Tomasi firm, it's John Lloyd.
That is correct, sir.
That was the question on that. On the other ones, I was going to abstain from voting because I had an issue with the increase in fees that we're paying the attorneys. I thought that we should leave it the same or round it off at 150. So I'm just going to abstain from all of the awarding of these contracts. So we can take them all.
I was going to say we can vote them as a block separately.
And then my other on the okay, well we can do.
Okay.
On 2620, I was going to abstain from that.
Sure. Okay, so tell me if I'm correct, Committeeman Arvanites.
I'm sorry.
Tell me if I'm correct, Committeeman Arvanites. We are going to vote as a block now on resolutions 16-20, 18-20, 19-20, 21-20, 23-20, 26-20, and I believe that's it. Okay.
Those are the ones you're abstaining on.
Yes.
Oh, it's about.
Let's vote still.
Just the vote. Yes.
I'll offer the resolutions.
Second.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Mr. Arvanites.
Abstain?
Mr. Jorphy.
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso.
Yes.
Mr. Gazelle.
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Okay, next, resolution 33-20, authorizing award to replace fire department HVAC system.
I'll offer it.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Mr. Arvanites.
Yes.
Mr. Jorphy.
I will abstain.
Mr. Mancuso.
Yes.
Mr. Gazelle.
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
And finally, resolution 34-20, authorizing execution of an agreement between New York SMA, LP, Verizon Wireless, and the Township of Morris for non-exclusive use of public rights-of-way for the use of owning, constructing, installing, operating, and maintaining small wireless communications facilities.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Sure.
Thank you. apparently there's a almost 40-page contract that goes along with this resolution, and I would like the opportunity to read the contract. I am very much for so this is related to the 5G that's coming into Morris Township. We passed an ordinance last year, and this is a resolution, I believe, allowing, Mr. Quinn, is this correct, allowing Verizon to start installation according to that?
If they do, it's a right-of-way agreement, so for 5G, they have to through the formal requirements that are in the ordinance that was adopted by the Township Committee, and this just sets the guidelines on how they're going to do that and the permissions that they're going to be required to do, along with the inspection fees for that.
Okay. So I am very much for 5G. I think it's going to be a phenomenal technology. It's going to change the way we operate as a society. So it's not anything against 5G. But I would like the opportunity to read the contract. I had brought up last year my concerns about our rights-of-way starting to be overwhelmed with the number of companies that are coming in for 5G. It's going to change the landscape of everywhere the 5G is going to go in. It's going to change the landscape because the poles have to be much closer than what you see as a big tower, how we operate our cellular system now. And so I know it's contained within the ordinance, but I would like the opportunity to see what's in the contract itself because it is of great concern to myself. And I wanted to ask the governing body if we could put this off until February so I have that opportunity, and anybody else on this committee who wants to read that contract would have that opportunity.
Mr. Quinn, is this time sensitive at all? Do we put it off until February?
No, it's not. I mean, it was distributed previously, but it's, it's not good. It's fine.
I have a question. Are you asking for the original ordinance that we passed?
No, I know the ordinance.
It's the specific contract with Verizon.
Yeah, and specifically, I don't know if there's an opportunity at this point or not, but the rights-of-way are our property.
Mm-hmm.
We are giving away our rights-of-way and allowing companies to come in and use our municipal property with no fees, no payments, no nothing. And I wanted to see if there's an opportunity to ask for a fee, for example.
I don't believe we are. We've looked at that. This is all, as you know, we did it the year before, and then the FCC changed what we can do and what we can't do. And so this was vetted by our telecommunications council that specializes in this and writing the ordinance back then in compliance with the FCC regulations. And this agreement, again, was vetted by him, written by him, to be compliant with the FCC regulations and our ordinance. I don't think there's going to be much that's going to be able to be changed on that because it's, as you know, it's been thoroughly vetted for about a little over 2 years now and getting it to this point. And as you know, you've met him, he's extremely competent in what he does and gives us good advice. And if there was anything that further that could be done for the township, I think we would have already done it.
I did see him present at a session at the league, and we at least at that time, which was about a year ago, we were in a minority of towns who had actually taken the action of establishing an ordinance. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I don't mind going first either. Like I said, 5G is going to change the way we do things, but I would just like the courtesy of the opportunity to just look at the contract before we actually vote on it.
So you said it is not time sensitive?
They would think I'm sure they think it's time sensitive, but
it's just a month.
It's a month,
A 5G tower is not going in the next month. I think they can wait.
It's not going to cause a problem with them if we wait until next month?
I don't think it will.
Okay.
They have to. It's our town. Thank you.
Okay, so is that a roll call?
It is.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Arvanites? Mr. Dorfus?
Yes.
Ms. Martuso? Mr. Griselle?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
And that ends the resolution.
Thank you. Okay. Next we have the consent calendar, and as circulated. Is that a roll call vote? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Standing committee report. I guess we'll do what we've done in the past and perhaps start with Committeeman Jordan.
Thank you, Mayor. These will be short since we're starting off a new year, but the Communications Standing Committee will be I'll be scheduling a meeting with you, Kathy, since we are both on that, to go over our priorities for this year. I'll also be organizing the schedule for office hours for this year for the committee members, which take place each month with 2 committee members. If you'd like to sit down with any of us to talk about any questions, comments, or concerns, we sit in the office down the hallway for a few hours on a Wednesday night. So I'll be putting that schedule together and announcing that through the municipal messenger for next month's office hours. For infrastructure, again, I'll be organizing our standing committee meeting, but looking forward to working with Committeeman Mancuso and our administrator, Mr. Quinn, on improvements to compensation. And that's what I'll leave my remarks for. So, thank you.
Thank you. Just to highlight one thing, our first office hours, I believe, will be February 12th, right?
Correct.
Second
Yes.
Wednesday.
Second Wednesday.
Mr. Mancuso?
Thank you, ma'am. Just a few things. The Finance Committee has been meeting. All of the subcommittees, all of the actual components of the township, various areas where we have money, people have raises and things of that sort, have been done. We're pretty well done with those. We're waiting now for our fund balance to come in, which probably comes in early February. And once we get there, we'll try to do the best we can to make your budget as responsible as we have in the past several years. We spent $42,000 on police body armor, which I thought was a very, very, I said body armor, I mean body cameras, which I think is a very, very good expenditure. And I have a few other things I'll talk about during my comments.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Arvanites?
With regard to the budget process, I think I speak for all of us that we are sharpening our pencils to make sure that we can bring in the budget as fair and equitable for everyone in our community. The one major challenge that we face is that we have a great number of capital improvements that are necessary in our township. And so that's going to be one of our challenges. I know in my subcommittees, one of our challenges is going to be to see if we can get all of those projects completed, funded and completed. I don't have anything else to report.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Brazel?
So just to follow on with what John was saying, he and I are both on the engineering committee together, and we were presented with a long list of capital projects. And that's just the engineering committee. There are other committees that have capital requests also, like the police department, the fire department, recreation department. Just in life, you understand capital is scarce, and we're going to have to allocate the capital that we have amongst all the projects that we have. It's a tough decisions every year where to put our money, and that's what we're going to be working on for the next couple of months before the budget is presented. I also wanted to mention that I was assigned to be our representative on EDAC this year, and that's the Economic Development Advisory Committee. And first, I'd like to say, Mayor Wilson, you did a phenomenal job in selecting the people to be on EDAC. There was a tremendous amount of brain power around that table.
Yes.
Really, really impressive.
Come to EDAC.
Yeah. So, the EDAC committee put together a strategic plan, which is now up on the website, and anybody can go take a look at it. And we talked about dividing into subcommittees and starting to execute some elements from that strategic plan. So, it's gotten off to a fast start at EDAC.
Very much so. Part of the reason I've been very busy the last week is because all of my standing committees have either met or had events. So I chair the Energy, Environment, and Sustainability Standing Committee. Our Environmental Commission met for the first time last Wednesday, or Thursday, and at the end of last year they had compiled a list of issues that they wanted to work with in the year ahead. They had a very productive discussion. They're going to be very active this year. Some of the topics they are going to be developing plans to address include energy audits. They have a lot of ideas on community outreach and education. They're working together on a joint project with the EDAC committee on EV charging stations. They've talked about community solar, energy aggregation, environmental zoning, tree replacement, and an environmental plan update. So they talk kind of like an overview of all these topics. They have many plans, and they have increased their number of meetings this year from in the past they met every other month. This year they're going to be meeting every month. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in that to come to the meeting. Transportation Advisory Committee also met last week on Wednesday, first meeting of 2020. And the first meeting ever of this newly established committee had occurred in December, and the committee had sort of a homework assignment to think about what is your vision and what are the problems you imagine in each of the four main areas of transportation that we're going to be working with, which would be walking, biking, driving, and parking. And it was an extremely interesting discussion, I thought, to hear all these people, which is a combination of residents and professionals, share their vision of what would you like travel to look like in Morris Township 5 years from now. Interesting conversation. And then what problems do you anticipate in each of those four areas? They too broke into subcommittees and are meeting, and we have one each for walking, biking, driving, and parking. So I'm very optimistic about this group's work in the year ahead, and it's very interesting. Committeeman Jorpy and I are both on that, and it's also several of our professionals. Our fire department had a party to celebrate the installation of its new officers. Fairchild honored the installation of their captain, their first lieutenant, and their second lieutenant. And while we were there, we had an interesting discussion. I thought I had also last week attended the reorganization meeting in Mendham Township, and it was very moving to me to see them honor their officers at the Township Committee meeting and swear them in. And they were in uniform and their white gloves, and it was just a very moving experience. And I encouraged our officers to consider doing that next year. I guess that's it for me. Now we'll resume and our final comments for the Township Committee. Committeeman Jorpy.
I'd just like to echo that having been at the TAC meeting last week, I thought it was a fruitful discussion. I'm really excited for the work that this group of residents and professionals is going to do over the next year. I definitely encourage the public to come show up. It's a very educational, it was an educational experience. Nora, who is chairing the TAC committee, is a resident, but she's also a professional in the field of planning, and so her knowledge and being able to use her as a resource for our residents is absolutely great. I was going to promote the Rose fundraiser, but I know a member of our OEM is here later, so I will let Patty Sims come up later to talk about it. But our OEM association has their annual fundraiser at Hillside Firehouse, and they have the best roses and the best deal. So Valentine's Day is coming up, so I'll let Patty just talk about that later on. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Mayor.
Thank you. What the Finance Committee has done also is, and I didn't say it before properly, we've met with all the department heads. They have given us what their budgets are for the year. We will put those all into the compendium and compilation of what we're going to do vis-a-vis our tax rate for next year. And as I said, we're just waiting for our fund balance. And then the only other thing I would say is, once again, I send my best wishes to Mr. Mills for 29 years of service, and he will be with us for quite a long time because we have many projects that he started that we're going to be finishing up with him. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Ravanides?
I'd like to thank Bill Fulch, which he always somehow amazes me, and I think everybody here, on how he gets projects completed. Back around Veterans Day, I had suggested to him, which I had mentioned before, suggested to him that maybe we should do a holiday lights contest for our residents for 2020. Somehow, some way, he was able to pull it off in 2019. So I want to thank Bill, his staff, and Mayor Wilson for participating in voting on
It was fun.
the holiday lights contest.
Mm.
And I think, I don't know for Halloween, but we'll see if Bill surprises us with something like that too.
That was a great idea.
I wanted to first start off by congratulating John Mills also. I've known John for 8 years serving. This is my 8th year knowing John Mills, being on this governing body, and a lot of years in between, and he's a very good man. And I like him very much, and he served our town very, very well. I would like to thank the Finance Committee. So this year, the Finance Committee is Mr. Mancuso and Mayor Wilson. Mr. Mancuso serves on the Finance Committee year after year, and between now and budget time, it is a tremendous amount of work pulling together all of the subcommittee budgets into a big budget, and then pulling it all together and then presenting it back what the recommendations are. So I wanted to thank you again for taking on the Budget Committee assignment and putting in the work. Mayor Wilson, good luck being on the Finance Committee and putting together the budget. But thank you for that. Also want to thank the Township personnel that work on the budget. So Mr. Quinn works very, very hard on the budget, and Francine DeAngelis, and everybody at Town Hall. They have to put together their numbers. But Tim and Francine work extra hard these first few months of the year. So thanks to you, both of you as well, for the work you're going to be putting in already, and we'll be putting in the next 2 months for that. I wanted to follow up on Peter's comment about the body-worn cameras. I should have said that in my committee reports, but I believe after this purchase of body-worn cameras, Mr. Quinn, every one of our officers will now have a body camera. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
And are we the only force in Morris County to have every officer with a body-worn camera?
I don't know the answer to that.
You don't know.
But we're one of the few.
One of the few.
If not the only.
Okay. So the body-worn cameras are very important. It's not just important it's important on both sides. It's important for people who get into an altercation. It's important for the police officers so everybody knows exactly what happened. There's no he said, she said. It's very good practice. I think it will be a great benefit to Morris Township, and I am very happy that our police department put forward that request and that we allocated the funding for that. And lastly, just with our sewer committee, I also failed to mention that Tim Odell, who is a long-serving member of our sewer plant, Tim was with us for, 35 years? Yes, sir. 35 years, Tim Odell. Just retired at the end of last year. So I wanted to wish Tim well in his retirement. He served the township very well. Our sewer plants are run by Mark Howarth and Tim Odell. They did a super job. And we have a...
Me too.
Yes. And Joe, what's his last name?
Morrison.
Joe Morrison is now our assistant superintendent.
Yep, you haven't promoted him yet.
Oh,
we'll be happy to have that tonight.
Okay. I let the cat out of the bag. Anyway, somebody's got to move up the chain, and so I wish him luck in his incoming role when he does get promoted.
We'll make sure that happens tomorrow.
He's taken on some responsibilities already. But like we like to say on the sewer committee, Morris Township is #1 in #2. We're going to keep that going in 2020.
And the 3 Ps too.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. In the last week, I have learned that there are many hard situations that you have to deal with as mayor, and there have been some issues, not tons, but a few issues that have come up that we on this dais and in the community have differing views on. So I wanted to emphasize something that I said at last week's reorg meeting, which for me is really a core value. And it is that what's most important to me is not that we agree, it's that we communicate and that we practice seek to understand and that we treat each other with respect. So that's kind of a guiding principle for me as I work with all the different people that I work with now in my new role as mayor. I also, at the reorg meeting, I talked about the theme of becoming a beacon of excellence And one of the topics that I highlighted on that is that we would like to become a beacon of excellence in how we handle land use and development issues. I know these topics are of great concern to all of us, and I wanted to highlight 4 areas within that that are important to me. So, and obviously these are, you know, land use issues are notoriously legalistic and conflict-ridden, if you will. And to me, there's 4 main areas that I'd like to see us work on. One is information, and it's very important to us. You can count on us to do everything we can to ensure that residents have easy and timely access to the information that you need to understand what's going on. As far as communication, we want to ensure that communication is as open, timely, complete as possible. Education is very important to us also. We want to ensure that people understand how the different processes work, some of which are governed by state law, some of which are informal and things that we can do on our own. And another process that's very important to me, I've been advocating it for years, is visioning. And that whole idea of visioning what you would like to see in the future, exploring ways, I'd like to see us explore ways to engage our community in opportunities to proactively envision future possibilities that we'd like to see together. To me, it's just smart, because it puts us in a position of, you know, we're being proactive instead of reactive, and I like that. And I will say this whole issue of land use and development, I've been very interested in it for a long time. I was thinking today, as I was sort of thinking through my comments, I could see myself writing a book on this at some point. I feel really passionate about it, and I feel like, you know, well, not that I have it ready right now, but I feel like this is part of an experience that I'm very grateful to have the opportunity as mayor to play a leadership role in addressing some of these things that I think will really help us to become a beacon of excellence in how we handle land use and development issues. So we'll see. Anyway, one final thing I wanted to mention. This is very exciting, and I'm surprised that Mr. Clazel did not mention it. We got word just the other day from the Seeing Eye. This is so exciting. A bill was passed, I guess just 2 days ago maybe, in the state legislature, making the Seeing Eye dogs the state dog of New Jersey. So we are now the home to the state dogs of New Jersey, and it's very exciting. The only thing that's remaining is for the governor to sign the bill. We're assuming he's going to sign it, right? And
we've actually invited him to come to Morris Township to the Seeing Eye to actually sign the bill. I don't know if he'll accept the invitation, but we've made it.
The Seeing Eye is such a magnificent facility. If you've never been there, it's beautiful. What it does is unique. It trains dogs to serve as, you know, dogs for guide dogs for people who are blind, and they also do training of the people. So it's a very interesting facility. It's just an honor to have them here, and this is really exciting. I love this. So congratulations to the Seeing Eye. They're the ones who put forward the bill, and it was passed, I believe, on the last day, on Monday, the last hour. We got in right under. Anyway, thank you. That's all I have. And next we have public commentary, our second session. If anyone would like to comment, please feel free to step up. Please say your name and address.
Marlene, member 63 Independence Way. First off, wish you, everyone here, Happy New Year. I wanted to ask some questions about these new committees, the Environmental Committee and the Transportation Committee. I know they're going to have their own meeting dates and times and everything. Is it possible, a lot of times, the rest of us don't necessarily get out to some of these committees. We have good intentions to go to some of them, but it doesn't always happen. Is it possible, or is this something that they will be doing, that we could see that the individuals that are included in these commissions doing is coming up at the Township Committee meeting and presenting, not necessarily every month, but every couple of months, what it is that they are working on, what it is they have accomplished, what their goals are, what they have accomplished, what they have decided on, and things like that. Is that a possibility there?
It's possible. We do try to summarize here.
Right, but I'd like to see, I think I'd like to see members of the committee. I'd like to see who in our community are on these committees and what they're contributing from their, you're restating from their point of view.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's an interesting idea.
Okay.
I attend the Transportation Committee and the Environmental Commission, and I'll bring it up at both of those. Did you want to comment?
No, I'd say that, like tonight with our standing committee reports, we try to provide sort of a summary or recap from the meetings that we're in. But like we said, the public are welcome at these meetings, and do we have minutes available that we could provide as well?
They're posted online, sir, after the meeting.
Yeah.
They are
after they're approved.
correct.
Yeah.
So they are.
There are meeting minutes online too, but maybe an annual report from each committee might be something we consider.
We do get the annual report. I just received the one for EDAC, which will be on the agenda for you for next month. And as I said, all the meetings are public. However, the advisory committees also, when they have a recommendation to the Township Committee, often they will come here to present that recommendation to the Township Committee for formal action to be taken.
That's great. Okay. And the other issue I have is, or the other question I have is are we going to revisit the vaping situation? We had an ordinance that was presented last year, and we haven't done anything. We didn't do anything on it, so I was wondering whether or not we would revisit that issue.
At the present time, we don't have any plans that I am aware of to address it.
So let's put some action ready for the governor's signature and move forward across the end of the month.
Okay, do you want to elaborate on that?
State legislature looking at banning the flavored.
Oh, yes.
As part of that, and sending it up to the governor for a signature of banning flavors in the state of New Jersey on the vaping.
Okay, if they do that and they pass that, is there something that you do on a local level also?
It's a state regulation, so
state law.
It would be enforced.
And there would be nothing further that we would need to do here.
Do you have concerns or suggestions?
Well, we were talking about, the selling of it, and I know this is specific to a certain flavoring, and everything, but, I think the issue goes a little bit further than that, too, and I know a lot of the homeowners that were here last year, they had, from what I could understand, they were more concerned about the people that were selling it. And, not specific things, but selling these to underage. And while you have the flavors, might be one thing, but are there any other issues, or are there any other problems with vaping that would need to be addressed? Does this address all the problems of vaping, this new legislation?
If you look at the meeting that we had last month in December, we had a lady that's doing her master's work at College of St. Elizabeth, and she gave a very detailed presentation on vaping in Morris Township and describes a lot of those issues that we see, and also, the number of locations actually selling vaping materials in Morris Township is very small, and is well monitored by both our health department and our police department. But it's worthwhile taking a look at the video from the December meeting and looking at Ms. Feldman's presentation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, Marlene, before you go, I just wanted to add, so last year when we had the conversation, the public conversation about vaping, I talked about how it's a multi-pronged issue. It's multifaceted. it's not just the flavors, it's not just where it's sold, there's a lot of things involved. And I felt there were steps that the township could take. I thought the ordinance that we had proposed last year was a good step in the right direction, along with other measures, not it being the only measure. So I'm glad that the legislature might be moving on flavors. Last year, when Morristown passed their selling ban, so they've restricted the places where you could sell vaping products, I referred that ordinance from Morristown to our legislation committee, and I will again request that the legislation committee tonight review that ordinance in Morristown to see what we can bring to Morris Township. Mr. Quinn is right that there are very few places that sell vaping products in Morris Township, but if they were restricted to not selling, I think that would be a good thing. So looking at what Morristown did, and granted they restricted to vaping shops, we don't have any, which would mean you couldn't buy in Morris Township. That's okay with me. That would be another step.
We did review Morristown's ordinance.
The legislation committee reviewed it last year and came up with a consensus that we were going to wait and see what the impact on Morristown's ordinance would have on our retail that sold vaping equipment, what Juuls and whatnot. From heading the legislation committee last year, we did not have a formal consensus amongst the committee members to enact an ordinance, but we are always welcome to continue that discussion and think of other solutions that we might have. But I would say the state and also the federal government is acting on this, and so much of what will come out of the federal government and the state government will supersede what we can enact on our own. But they're also working urgently too.
So I would respect, since you guys have vetted it and you said you didn't come to conclusions. I mean, we're a body of 5. The subcommittee is a body of 2. There's more people who might want to weigh in on it.
I was just going to ask you to weigh in right now.
I don't. Mr. Jorpy just mentioned you came to some conclusions that I'm not sure have been widely circulated. So perhaps, maybe not tonight because we're not ready, but at the next meeting we could have a discussion about that.
That's fine with me. Okay. Just while we're on the topic, I don't want to put you on the spot. I just want to ask, and if you don't want to answer, that's okay. I'd be curious to know, you've been advocating that we follow, or maybe replicate the type of ordinance that Morristown has, which they basically, they ban sales except for in smoke shops. We don't have any smoke shops. So if we were to, yeah, I know. I'm asking you, would you support an ordinance in which that banned sales altogether in Morris Township?
Absolutely.
You would? Okay.
Absolutely. If somebody in Morris Township needs it, they have access in Morristown. They don't need access in Morris Township when there are vaping shops just a mile away.
Okay.
Are you talking about adults too, or just children under 21?
It's both. It would be a ban on sale, period.
Okay. It's already illegal for them. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's already illegal for anybody under 21, as Mr. Quinn said, so it would be for everybody. And people have access, at least in our town. Other towns might have an issue, but in our town, they have access through Morristown. And Morristown hasn't banned it completely, so I think it's something.
I appreciate the opportunity to have a discussion.
I think we should have a more in-depth conversation based on the results of what the subcommittee found. So I look forward to that next month, if you could prepare something.
That we will.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else from the public?
Yes, good evening, committee. My name is Pat Sims. I'm with the Morris Township Office of Emergency Services, and I just want to thank the committee again for their support for our roses sale, which we hold February 12th, 13th, and 14th, and it'll be at the Hillside Firehouse over on Western Avenue. So we sell roses, we got the vases, cards, candy, we got like a whole one-stop. So the signs will start going out in the township probably, I don't know, this weekend because we had to get new signs made up, so I hear that they're not ready yet. So probably next week we'll start putting out the signs. So if anybody is interested in roses, come visit us. The phone number on the sign is actually my phone number, so I do take pre-orders. So, but again, thank you.
Thank you. It's a wonderful event. And I would add to it that I've purchased fantastic calendars there before. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. They're terrific.
Yeah, yeah. The calendar, we do little gift shop things. This year we're not doing too much of the gift stuff because it's a lot and it gets crazy, so.
But the roses are fantastic.
Yeah. Yep.
Really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys do a great job, and you're a great credit to the township for what you do. And for those of us on occasion who may forget, you are a great resource.
Thank you.
The only resource.
We enjoy doing it.
That's right.
And the sale is on with OEM, but we also do it in partnership with the Morris Township FMBA, the paid division, their association. So we also partnered up with them because it got a little bit too much for OEM to handle with our small membership. So we also do it with the paid division of the Morris Township Fire Department.
Great.
Thank you.
Wonderful. It's a wonderful event. Thank you.
And buying your roses actually supports the community. You're not just buying roses, but you're putting your money towards a good cause, because the OEM people, they're all volunteers who work very hard on behalf of the community. Thank you for everything you do, Patty, and the money goes to a good cause.
Thank you.
Hello, Jim O'Reilly, 50 Independence Way. I'd like to support Mr. Grazel and Marlene Memmer on the vaping issue. It occurs to me that we may not have any vaping shops set up now, but if we don't pass an ordinance and surrounding communities have, we may find that we soon have them. So that would be a possibility. Also, I have a question. Do any of our boards, commissions, and committees, other than the Township Committee, have video of their meetings?
Good question. At present, no.
No. Most of them, other than the land use, are not held in this room. They're held in a conference room. But they are all recorded if you ever wanted the audio.
Oh, they are?
Yes, sir.
Oh, are those put on the website?
No, sir. Just the agenda and the minutes.
Oh, but you can get them by request?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
What would be the process for that? Come into the office?
Oprah.
Oh, Oprah. So, the official form?
That is correct.
What is Oprah?
Open Public Records Act.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
And where do you get the form? Is it on the website?
It is.
I didn't know that. Very good. Anyone else?
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Jill McKenna. I'm at 4424 Piedmont Court. I'm here because I'm very concerned about an intersection. It is at Pitchell Road and Woodland Avenue. There have been several accidents in the past year and a half, extending beyond that. Police are there. It seems constantly. I came home tonight. There's another accident. I believe, and my neighbors have told me that they've requested something be done. I don't know, a sign, maybe possibly a blinking light. The police are very aware of this, so I'm very baffled as to the process for getting this done. I did call over to the police station tonight, and they gave me some names and said there was a meeting tonight, so I figured I would come here. I'm very concerned, and, you know, at this point, kind of upset. You know, I don't know that anyone has died, but is that what it's going to take? So how does it work?
So, Mr. Quinn would have the
I'll
information on that.
Yep, we'll refer it over to the police department. We'll get their information. They look at a 3-year action history, speed limits, that kind of thing, and they'll forward that back over for the committee to look at. It's a little bit unique because we have actually 2 municipalities that we have to deal with. Part of it's Harding, part of it's us. But we'll get all the information from them.
So that's Harding location too?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably right on the line.
We'll get that. We can refer that back.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just surprised nothing's been done. It's really.
Well, they did do some things with some additional painting and lines and with the stop signs and the.
In the lease, right?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You said they could do painting?
No, they've done some already. Several years ago, I remember they did some improvements to that intersection.
No, not the intersection specifically. They did the whole street. They did the blue line, but. I mean, there could be a sign, dangerous intersection ahead.
This was in Kitchell where they put in the bars going up to the stop signs.
Well, it's not working.
Ms. McKenna, based on your experience, just wanted to ask you, do you have any recommendations yourself?
Well,
If you travel at intersections, I've driven by there oftentimes, and I see a lot of close calls there, and I view it as because people are being, Woodland has the right of way. There's a stop sign on Kitchell, and I view it as aggressive drivers trying to get out of the street when it's not proper to exit the street. But do you have any other input?
The problem is, and I think what happened tonight, there's just a little bit of a hill. Like, the cars come over down Woodland, okay, like from Frog Farms, that way.
Mm-hmm.
They come over, and they by the time you see them, you could have come out. I'm familiar with the intersection. I know I'm stopping here. I don't even some people try to go straight across. And I think that's the problem, is that just that little bit of hill there, you don't see the car. So you look this way, and you say, oh, no cars, and you look this way, and you think you have free, and before you know it, there's a car just comes down Woodland. It's just the design.
So, Mr. Quinn, as part of the police survey, did they do a sight line analysis, or?
Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay.
So it'd be probably on the other side, too, where they're coming from, I don't know if the name of the road is Kitchell on the other side, too. I think so.
Yes.
But, look to the left, too, it's really, that way. When they look, and it's just too, I guess it's just too, it's very tricky. It's very tricky.
It is.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if a sign on every corner that says dangerous intersection, like at least a sign maybe, so all four sides are aware dangerous intersection ahead, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know but I've seen signs like that before. But you, like I said, you guys can study it and see. But I really would appreciate like this soon.
Yeah.
Because there's been too many. At this point, I think someone could sue if they ever looked into the record.
Yeah. So we are aware. I thank you for coming in, sharing your concerns. You've got it down, and it will be referred to our police department.
Mm-hmm.
They'll look into it,
and then
they'll get back to us, and then
I'll make sure that the Ms. McKenna's about it.
we'll get back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really
Okay.
appreciate that.
And feel
That would
free
take
to
a lot,
come to
right?
our tax committee. These are the kinds of things that come up there as well. Our transportation. We're looking at
where?
The Transportation Advisory Committee.
Oh.
These are the kinds that we haven't done that yet, but these are the kinds of issues that will come up as part of our driving subcommittee.
Yeah, and lots of times it's personal experience. I happen to have a personal experience there, so I'm aware.
Sure.
I know.
And you're the type of person who has good suggestions because you've had such personal experience with it. So thank you for coming in, and we'll get back to you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. McKenna.
Jeff Brooks, 49 Spring Valley Road. Just my 2 cents on that. As you're looking at that, it'd be wonderful to interact with our friends in Harding with regard to keeping clear the right-of-way, which is on the northern side of Woodland Avenue to the east of the intersection. So when you're coming from Madison Avenue to Woodland, when you stop at that intersection to cross Woodland, it's very difficult to see to your left, which is the primary oncoming traffic, which is dangerous, that intersection, because the right-of-way isn't cleared as well as it should. So this one simple suggestion as you're having those conversations. I know that is Harding, not Morris Township, that right-of-way, but I know we talk regularly with our adjoining municipalities about such issues. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Motion to close.
Motion to close. Public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Let's see here. We have our, is this a motion?
No, consideration of those.
Consideration of monthly report as circulated.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, we have our list of bills in the amount of $7,749,103.01.
I will offer that.
Second? Roll call, please.
Mr. Albanese, Mr. Dorfey.
Yes.
Mr. Mancuso.
Yes.
Mr. Brazil.
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes. That is it for this evening. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you for coming. This meeting is adjourned.
You did a great job.